When a person is appointed into public office or elected, it is often greeted with cheers and celebrations in some quarters because to many eyes, it is an opportunity to make some gains. The EFCC, ICPC, and the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, are institutions primarily set up to fight against corruption and other malpractices. So looking through the years, how have they fared? And of course, is Nigeria making any headways in this anti-corruption fight? That is our focus on this episode of the program. My name is Leah. Today, don't forget, on this program, we bring the policies as much as possible closer to you. We are streaming on YouTube at Saban Media Services. Our videos are available there for you. And in our complimentary segment, we have the education package, simplify these, and of course, rates from local markets. The policy with Leah returns in a bit. Let's begin with a look at the trends table, and of course, we'll begin from May Day.
The federal government says it has approved an increase of between 25% and 35% in salaries of civil servants on the existing 6 consolidated salary structures. Minister of State for Labour Nkirika Onyejocha says, although the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage was yet to conclude its negotiations, workers will not lose anything as the new minimum wage will take effect from May 1st, 2024. However, the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) will have none of it and called on the federal government to announce a new minimum wage of 615,000 naira. During his address at the 2024 Workers' Day celebration, NLC President Joe Ajaero said the process of fixing the new minimum wage is still continuing, hence the demand of 615,000 naira in line with present realities. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has deregulated meter prices under the Meter Asset Provider (MAP) scheme for end-user customers. NERC in a circular said the review is based on the need for the efficient pricing of meters, and from May 1st, all prices of meters under the MAP scheme will be determined through a competitive bidding process, with customers provided with a choice of authorized vendors. World Bank President AJ Banga say he expects donor countries to meet a request by African leaders to make record contributions to a low-interest facility for developing nations, stressing that these were not handouts but investments in the future. African heads of state called on Monday for rich nations to help raise at least $120 billion for International Development Association (IDA) at a conference to be held in Japan in December. The target amount of $120 billion means donors will have to put about $30 billion, since the World Bank can borrow $3 for every dollar raised. Banga in an interview acknowledged donor countries have their own challenges, but opined they all value the effect of contributing to IDA. The founder of Binance, Chapeng Zhao, is the world's richest prisoner with a personal fortune estimated at $43 billion after being sentenced to 4 months in prison. Zhao was sentenced by a Seattle court on Tuesday after pleading guilty to violations of the United States anti-money laundering and sanctions laws last year. A U.S. judge handed down the 4-month sentence despite prosecutors pushing for a 3-year term. Binance was earlier this year ordered to pay $4.3 billion after an investigation found it had helped users bypass sanctions.
Again, is Nigeria winning the anti-corruption war, and is the nation adapting to modern trends? Join the conversation with engineer Mustafa Bello. Nigeria for decades has been fighting an anti-corruption war, and for many out there the question is, are we really winning this war considering the recent turn of events? Well, on this edition of the program, we shall be focusing on the anti-corruption fight, the challenges, of course, and the way forward. And I have joining me engineer Mustafa Bello. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and, of course, a former Minister of Commerce of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is nice to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
You've been around for quite a while, and you've seen perhaps how a lot of the anti-corruption agencies started off. If you could walk us through really, what is your assessment of their performance? Are they fighting monsters that they are not winning over?
Okay, well, you know, all the key three institutions that fight corruption, the Code of Conduct, the ICPC, and the FCC were essentially established during the government of President Obasanjo. And I remember we took, you know, the bills, the draft bills in cabinet, you know, that brought them up as entities, you know, for those responsibilities. But I believe, you know, with time, they seem to have focused more on actually going after those who have stolen than how do we stop stealing. And I think it's important that we tilt their focus on fighting those who have stolen to stopping the stealing itself. And using that, we should be able to achieve the core objective of establishing them.
When you say they're more focused, going after those who have stolen, could you explain that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you check the history from the time they are established till today, most of what they do is they are prosecuting. You know, they investigate and prosecute. Oh, we have established this against so-so person or so-so company, and we are taking them to court. But we have not seen them actively involved in gathering data using this you know, suspects, if you like, to gather data on how did they do what they did, which is now targeted as criminal, to be able to now use it as an input into a process that can be designed either as an application or a solution that will now stop it from happening in the future. For example, I mean, if you take people who hack into accounts, you know, and steal, and people hack even into government accounts, and that is even the easiest thing to do because nobody checks. And now this guy is a smart hacker. He picks 1,000, 2,000 from 1 million accounts of governments all over Nigeria. And that gives him about 1 trillion naira or 2 trillion, you know. And they get to understand that, oh, this is what is happening by so-so person, and they pick him. Rather than now use him as part of those who will help them develop a solution, they just go after that person and take him to court, you know, and either get him jailed or the case dismissed by a judge on technicalities and so on and so forth. And the person walks away, either with his loot or he continues the same thing. You know, so I believe that they should focus more on using those kind of persons as resources to be able to help in designing a solution that will now stop at least those who hack through accounts. The same thing, those who steal public resources. There are those who now they share contracts, you know, from the office of the president, with due respect, down to the minister, to the permanent secretary, to the director, to whoever, everybody. If you see advert in tender journal, you are just wasting your time if you respond to it as an outsider. It has already been distributed. You know, rarely you will hear that somebody tendered and he gets that contract because it has already been predetermined. You know, so now the EFCC and ICPC and CCB, if truly they are meant to stop corruption, they should go into this kind of things, investigate why it happens. And the technology, you know, supports people to be able to now make the process even more transparent so that people can bid in a competitive manner, and those who are successful are given. You know, all the criteria for qualifying can be online. Once you submit, the system will now confirm that, yes, you have qualified. You go to the next phase, up to the end, which is the tender. So these are the areas I think they should focus more on fighting, corruption than just waiting until when somebody steals public resources and they go after him and then go to court. But I believe most of them, they end up frustrated because those who have stolen have tools to fight you back, and those tools are what they have stolen from the public resources, which they are prepared to share with all those involved, from the investigating to the judiciary to whoever, And that's how most of them, you find that the cases just go quiet. You never hear about them, in all those or most cases that you have heard of being handled by these agencies.
Okay, so what would you say are the enablers that are making this fight so difficult?
Well, those enablers are the fact that once somebody steals, he has access to your money that he has stolen. So he now uses it to be able to fight you back, and because that has happened successfully, people are now aspiring more to go to public offices, not because they want to add value to the system, help stop the things that they believe are not done rightly, but they are coming there to be able to harvest whatever they can harvest out of the public resources because they have seen a history of what happened in the past. And unfortunately, the younger ones that were looking up to, to become the leaders, unfortunately, the few that have been tried, you have seen the results that we have seen out of them. All of them have come with the same mindset, that it is money making first and not
Service first.
not business first, or not the country first, or not building the economy first, or building their own integrity and future first.
Okay. Does this have to do perhaps with the fact that the laws we have are not, will I say, strong enough, or we're not applying them rightly?
Well, again, we need to look at the details of the laws. But the most important thing is, people who implement what the law says need to use their head and their senses in everything they do. And what we feel is that those who head these institutions still believe that public officers are not bound by these laws. A simple example I can give you, I have never seen an EFCC chairman or ICPC chairman or Code of Conduct Bureau chairman walking to Minister of Justice and telling him that the information we are receiving about you, sir, suggests that you are doing something wrong. Please be careful. We want to make sure you don't run into our trap by the time you leave office. Simple example I can give you is the case of former Minister of Justice, Bello. He has just been cleared by court.
After 9 years.
Yes, after 9 years. Now, if the chairman of EFCC at that time, who was under his own supervision, walked him and cautioned him, based on what they now had to use to take him to court, they would have stopped the need for them to even take him to court. And then being a lawyer, he should have been even more careful, because now what that has done is, even if he has been cleared, it has already challenged his integrity. Internationally, anybody who wants to do business with him, if he Googles his name and see that he had even gone to court, it becomes a negative on him. So the leaders of these agencies must make sure that they have the courage. If it was me, it's very easy for me to do it. Because, I have walked to a president and told him, sir, what you have done, I think is not correct. This is the correct thing to do. And he listened. So I don't see why I cannot walk to a minister because I'm just chairman of EFCC, for example, I can walk to my minister and help him to stop him from running into a challenge or a difficulty or a trap. So I think they should see the law as applicable to everybody. We have never seen them caution members of National Assembly. In fact, they are even so afraid to go to that territory. They believe that the National Assembly is like a swarm of foxes who can just charge onto you because you tamper with one of them. Yes, let them try. You stand on your this thing. If you stand on what you think is right, nobody can do anything with you. I mean, to hell with the work. If they ask you to leave, you leave.
Nigerians don't resign.
Yeah, but I mean, I belong to the class that believe that if you challenge me to a point that I believe that it will be at variance with my belief, I will leave. I have never lobbied in my life for position. I have never lobbied, and I don't intend to lobby for any position. I will only lobby for something that is in the public interest. So I believe that if you are chairman and you see members of National Assembly doing what they are doing, you should walk to the speaker and tell him, Mr. Speaker, there is danger in what members are doing. Find a way of calling them one after the other and cautioning them. Because the law enables us to go after them. And if we do, nobody can stop us. But we don't want to embarrass you. Or you go to the Senate President and do the same. So through that, I believe that we will bring sanity. I was watching on the social media during President Buhari, a member from Kano publicly was sharing 200,000 naira to people, and over 1,000 people. How much is that? That's about 200 million. Is that not part of the violation of the law? So why should we allow those kind of people to do what they want? And then if a local man whose business is trading, he earns more than 15 million per day, you charge him for money laundering. I mean, let us not have double standard in the system that we're operating now. Or let's be clear that, yes, the law is for two kinds of people. This is for this and this is for this. Then we understand. But when the law is applicable on everybody, why is it that when somebody misbehaves, we turn away our face? And when somebody misbehaves on the other side, we go after him? Recently, I think, is it Peruvian or Colombian president house was raided on a wristwatch of $5,000, is it, or something like that? President, who can go and raid the house of the president here? So the issue is, we must resolve to do things rightly. As long as we decide to say on one side we will act, on the other side we will turn our faces, we'll continue to encourage this monster to grow to the size it has grown. And God knows where it is going to take us.
So particularly an agency like the EFCC, I want to cite that as an example. You get to see that their heads don't naturally end well, as we say in the Nigerian parlance. Is it that the system doesn't favor them to work according to the dictates of the provision that set them up in the first place?
Well, if you want to look at the history of what happened, it's a very interesting story. Malam Nuhu was the pioneer chairman, and he was doing very well. But when President Obasanjo was exiting, I think after he did his permutations, combinations, and analysis and so on, he came to the conclusion that late President Yar'Adua was the one to succeed him. So in the course of an inner circle discussion, Malam Nuhu raised objection that he had issues. Of course, the president then overruled, and he went ahead, promoted late Yar'Adua. We suspect someone in that meeting crossed over to alert President Yar'Adua for sake of favor, I think for want of favor. This is what we suspect. And we know the person. And informed him of what happened. So when he became president, naturally the disciples around and even himself felt uncomfortable, and that's how they know how to ease him out and send him to Kuru and then put in a new chairman. Now, he was not removed based on corruption. It was on principles and the policy of the new leader. And the person who took over for him, also, we had one of these wealthy Nigerians who had issue with a foreigner who was sitting on his about, I think, 84 million or 86 million euro. And he had tried very hard to recover it, but it was becoming impossible. And because that foreigner was very close to a foreign president, and he was coming into this country. And this man, the Nigerian man, tried to get him arrested. It was impossible. So he now walked to late Eradua and requested for assistance. Please, Mr. President, help me. This is the problem I have. This man is sitting on my 80-something million euro, and I have tried all I can to get my money. He refused, and to get him arrested was becoming impossible. Can you help me? So he summoned the chairperson of the EFCC then and instructed that, walk with so persons, help see what you can do. Now, this wealthy Nigerian was invited. They sat down, and the first message from the chairman then was, it's a recovery, you will have to pay 10%. What he did not know or understood with the message was that whether the 10% was going to the chairperson, or was going to the account of EFCC, or was going to the account of the federal government. So he said, well, in order not to lose more, let me pay part. The rest when you finish. So he arranged, and then they arranged a meeting in his house, and the chairperson came to the house. Now, as the chairperson walked into the house, there was an observation of cameras in the house. So naturally, if you are in the intelligence community, even if you are not, I mean, once you see camera, it's a caution that be careful. Because you may be recorded either in voice or in image. So anyhow, the meeting was brief, and he brought out the briefcase containing, I think, about 2 million euro or so, as part payment. And he escorted the chairperson to the car, and it was now, and then the chairperson left. Now, in order to protect himself, he now had to run to the president and report himself, because he was afraid that maybe it was a trap, that, he too will be reported that he has started by giving bribe. Mm-hmm. So, and in his own understanding, it wasn't bribe. He has been told there is a price for recovery. So he had to run to the president to go and report himself. The same day, he ran to the president and informed him that this is what transpired between me and your chairman that you sent to me. And that now gave that chairman a red flag, because Eradua, I think, frowned, but he will never know him. He's a person that you will never know what is in his belly. So, but I think that chairperson was marked with a red flag. Luckily for that chairperson, the president fell ill. Of course, he left office by virtue of death. And then President Jonathan took over. Now, during the time of President Jonathan, I think within 9 months or so, this same chairperson walked to the president and requested for permission for him to investigate the first lady who is his wife. I think that set the process for the exit of this chairperson. Because at least, even if for anything, the president had immunity at that time. So you can't tamper with anybody in his family, at least for that. And then number two, you are embarrassing a sitting president. Even though, the agency may have the right, but I think there must have been a neater way this thing could have been done. So that's again how that chairperson left. Then the other person that came was Malam Ibrahim Lamurde, who came quietly, stayed his period and left quietly. No controversy, nothing had heard of him. But at least he exhibited care and brilliance because he saw what happened to those who came before him, and he avoided running himself into any of those. And he still maintains good relationship with people. So then, of course, the Ibrahim Mago case, which everybody knows why he was removed out of office. And then the Abdul Rashid Bawa case also, you know. Now, if you look at what happened most recently on the chairman, it shows very clearly that people take advantage of office to also perpetuate what they are fighting. Yeah, because, I mean, if we accept what was said about Ibrahim Magu or Abdul Rashid Bawa also, you know, then obviously something is wrong. And what is that thing wrong? Is that there is need for someone to be superintending over that office, to be checking on them, to make sure that their lifestyle, their actions in office, their conduct, their behaviors are on check and under control. And it's because they were not. That's why they were able to stay off course and do whatever they wanted, growing even bigger than the thing they are fighting. You know, so these are the issues. Now, when you isolate a section and make them feel that the law is not applicable to them and it's only for others, then obviously we will run ourselves into the kind of problem we are having. So in brief, I will recommend that we actually do certain things. And what are those things that we need to do? Number one, we need to have a very strong governing board for each of these institutions. And the composition of this board should be in a manner that it cuts across through the society and will be able to actually guide the agency do the right thing. Number one, we need representation for the National Judicial Council. We need representation that these are judges. We need representation from the Nigerian Bar Association. These are those who either participate in defense or in prosecution. And then we need representation from those who are specialists in trade and investment. People like me who have been in this thing for so many years. We can look at issues and clearly say our own opinion, whether these are genuine or are otherwise. Then we need somebody from the financial sector. We need somebody in the securities, you know. And then we also need someone who is from the non-governmental organizations, or two people, you know, who are there to defend the rights of those who are in the lower layer. Because what I observe is that if you are nobody, then you are on your own. You know, if you are somebody, then you have the defenses around you. Then we also need to bring in a former DIG, you know, of the police, because this is a police agency. So you need somebody who is in their system to be able to guide them, to also guide the board. And then you need a retired Major General who is in the military system, so that if issues come to do with that institution, he too can speak and guide, because there can be a petition on a retired general, for example, that says that, oh, he has diverted this. This guy should be able to stand and explain or confirm that, oh, no, this is wrong. Yes, we should go after this kind of officer. Now, through that, you are going to create a balance, and you are going to have a society, an institution that is actually dispensing what is expected out of it. You know, so this is one of those things that we need to do. The second thing is we need to have a strong counterintelligence unit. Now, a counterintelligence unit is that unit that is responsible for superintending over enforcement agencies. What they do, is it right? Are they doing what their law says? And then are they living above their means? You know, their ethical conducts, their behaviors, their lifestyle, and so on. We need to check, to have that institution that is oversighting them. You know, and if anybody misbehaves or they establish, of course, they will have access to their records, their accounts, their everything. And now that with technology, there is also an application that can link you with all those that you communicate with. So the one they see you communicating with somebody regularly, they check the account of that person too and see the history of his account. How has it changed because you have become a managing director of this company? Then it means there is a relationship between you. They go after that. Now through that, they will be able to stop, this kind of. So we need a strong institution like that. When the DSS, Department of Security Services of the country, picked the former CBN governor and the former EFCC chairman, I actually wrote to commend them, and they were excited about my commendation because I told them, you are now filling in the gap that existed. Otherwise, these agencies and their officers will continue to feel that they are above the law. They can do whatever they want with nobody to challenge them. With you intervening now, at least you are sounding a note of caution to them and warning that whoever tries, you will go after him. So we need a standalone institution like that, that can even include in the DSS itself. Even though I can tell you, so far I will tell you, is one of the neatest enforcement agencies I have seen. We have never had cases of them going into financial improprieties here and there. I have not had any, of all the other enforcement agencies. So if they can be empowered to do that, fine. They just need to create a special department or unit within their office, and that's their duty. Or if it is in their act, they should sit up and actually do that so that they can help us sanitize these agencies that have changed into, have transformed into believing that the law is not applicable to them. It is only applicable to those they go after. And then the last one, I think it's important that we need to do a digital transformation plan, so that we can now enable the entire system be integrated into one that helps us and makes it easy for us to monitor. Is it procurement process? It has to subject itself to that process. Is it monitoring of people's behavior? You have it, the alert comes in automatically. If you have any member of any agency, living above his means, the system will just send you an alert, and then you begin to monitor the person and see what he is doing. If he is doing a normal business somewhere, beside his normal duties, fine. Maybe what we may need to do is, you need to regulate it, or you need to, acquire the licenses and the permits and so on, so that you don't run yourself, foul of the law. Finish and encourage the person so that he now improves his means of living. So technology can help us actually in bridging between our efforts, and the fight itself, so that we can end up with a much neater society, whereby the effort put in by these agencies will now be minimal, but the output will be actually much more than what we see happening today.
Okay, I want to take you back on something you talked about earlier, which is on the CCB, and you actually gave the Bayelsa example. So if we're going to recall,
yes.
that,
I think actually it should be the fourth.
Yeah.
The fourth is that I think I saw it in Bayelsa. Now, what I think we should do is people should justify whatever asset they own. And how do they do that? For example, if you have somebody who is a messenger, who should be the lowest in office, categorization. And today, he wants to buy a bicycle. And that bicycle, for example, is today should be between, I'm sure it should be about 70,000 naira, now a bicycle. Now his salary may not be 70,000, or assume it is 70,000. And we know that he can't take 70,000 and buy a bicycle and then remain hungry for 1 month. He can't. So for him to buy that bicycle, he must justify how he is going to buy that bicycle. So if we expand the powers and the scope of the Code of Conduct Bureau to now include giving clearance. Now this messenger will apply to the local branch there. If it is local government level or it is the state level, he applies. I want to buy a bicycle. And he fills the form. There are certain questions they ask. You provide the information. And if you justify the source of the resource you are going to invest in buying the bicycle, assuming it is a loan, bring evidence from the bank. Bring your bank statement. Bring a letter from the bank that, oh, we're going to give you a loan of 70,000, and then you defray it in 7 months or 12 months, including interest at 10,000 naira. Finish. Now we give you clearance. Then you buy the bicycle. So you know that by the time you leave office, nobody is going to write. Even if somebody writes petition, you bought a bicycle, we already have the records of how you bought the bicycle. Oh no, I want to build a house. You know, how much is the house? Oh, the house is 40 million or 50 million naira. Now, submit evidence. Oh, I have negotiated with the bank. So the bank now gives you a letter that we're going to do, and these are the terms and so on and so forth. They look at your records, they confirm that everything is fine. And you must be transparent. Because anything you fail, want to declare in your Code of Conduct Bureau initially before you take work, you start work, and you acquire in between the time you join the work and the time you leave, will automatically be seized by government if it is found when you leave office. Now, all these things should be brought in. So it is going to encourage people to now be declaring things. They will apply for clearance, and once they get the clearance, they know that it is there in the records of these enforcement agencies. When they are leaving service, they don't even need to update their records, because they have already. And by law, it's actually mandatory for them to be updating these records, because before they acquire it, they must explain how they intend to acquire it. Now, if we have this, it's actually going to help check, Otherwise, you find, for example, at the state level, an inland revenue officer building houses, and I'm sure it's happening all over the states in Nigeria, and nobody asked him. In fact, everybody is happy for him that, he is working in inland revenue service. So he has a house of 100 million, he has a house of 200, he has 5 houses, So these are some of the ways that we will stop these kind of things happening. And I hope those who review this, our program, particularly those in government, will take advantage of listening to some of these suggestions, if they make any sense, to see if there are ways and means of implementing them. Because these are some of the areas we can focus in actually reducing our effort on fighting corruption. Otherwise, it will continue.
But do you see this being applicable? For instance, can you tell, do you see them meeting maybe heads of agencies or ministers and telling them, declare what you're buying as you're in office? Because once they leave, we get to hear like they're buying the whole of Abuja while in office.
No. You see, as I stated, anything you fail to declare, then becomes a property of government. So if you leave office and we see you buying things within the first 2 years of your leaving office, naturally, the CCB should invite you. Naturally. What were you doing? Where is the source of this? So you must have hidden this thing to us while you are in office, when we ask you to declare. So naturally, it becomes automatic asset to the government. If you do this, you are going to reduce this nonsense that is going on. But as long as you leave people, yes, they think that, they take it for granted that, the law is not going to go after them when they leave office. And they can hide some and declare some. And then once they leave office, they now open up the rest. I mean, the law should be very clear that, oh, we just go after you and pick those things for you. So if you do this, and you do it seriously, then obviously people will take it serious. But we must not sacrifice public officers and be going after people who are inconsequential. Because that tells people that it's been selective, it's been discretionary, and of course, even judges, when the case comes to them, what comes to their mind is, oh, I am aware of a case that honestly, we just had to, jail the person, not because we wanted, but because he violated the law. But this one, because it is done with some contempt, this one too must go to jail. You find judges who, their conscience tell them that we can't sacrifice this and leave this one. So I think we have to sit up to the issues. As I said from the beginning, the solution is there, but we need the will to be able to actually take on them and implement them.
Okay, so before I let you, lastly, really, I want to still go back to technology, because when you want to access information from one agency to the other, from one financial institution, for instance, to the other, we seem not to have a working database as a country where you can link and actually get this information at the tips of your fingers. So in fighting this corruption war, what will it mean for the institutions to leverage technology?
No, if we invest in the digital transformation, I said, the experts are there who will give you a complete plan that will bring in everybody into the same center, in the same command and control center. So whatever you need, you access from there. Whatever you process, it goes and be stored in there. Using that helps all the agencies and institutions to be able to access the information they need. But most importantly, it's not only, generating the data and storing the data, but the most important thing is even the processes. We must be able to automate them and make them user-friendly in a manner that, and I keep giving example of procurement, rather than asking people to go and collect tender document in hard copy, maybe about this size, and then filling in pen and this, and then returning to you in so many copies. And you have an office which is so large, filled with documents that nobody can look at. There is a system that all you need to do is just upload this information there. You fill in on soft document that is online, and then the system will qualify you automatically. From your input, it qualifies you. If you are not up to, it stops you from moving to the next stage. So it doesn't even allow everybody to even join. Once you are not, you like, okay, where is your tax clearance certification for 2024? You input the tax clearance, the system goes to the server of the Inland Revenue Service and verify that TCC is genuine. It comes back within a second and confirms it's genuine. Then it now opens the next page for you. Now submit this, submit this, submit this. And then now fill in your tender documents. And then when you finish, you just upload. Now the system will process everything, no longer a human being, where favour will be now introduced. The system processes. You can decide on the same system. In every procurement, there is what they call single source. There is what they call selected, and then there is open. So if you like, if it is a single source, then you go direct to the source, and then you dialogue with that source, up to the point you agree on the figure. If it is selective, meaning even if you want to do favour, but it must involve certain number of those, like you want to shield it, for example, to say, oh, We don't have people from the North participating in this thing. So we want to shield it for only people from the North to participate. Or we want to give preference to 12 people from the North, 6 from this side, and maybe 5 from here, for example, because these ones have been enjoying benefit of it. The system can be designed to do that. And then you now limit those numbers. But for them to even reach this 12, you have to go through the process of qualification to qualify to be among those 12. Now the technology has all these things that we need. Now if we do that, it's going to help minimize the need for me to go and see a permanent secretary to beg for me to be qualified or to be a friend of a minister, you know. And then now once the output comes, you get a letter directly to your email, you know, that, oh, you have been successful. All these are processed by the system and not by any human being. Even if it has to go to cabinet, the files going to cabinet goes to cabinet electronically. They look at it, they confirm. If the president says, no, we don't want to give this company, fine. I mean, no problem. He will be removed because the president has that authority and power to do so. So he can limit it to the remaining number, and then the other one that has been removed will go through another process to bring in the ones that they want. Okay. You know, so technology has the capability to be able to do all these things. You know, so when you take procurement, you can do the same for employment. You know, you can do, and you can configure to take care of the federal character thing that we have in Nigeria. You know, all these are possible with technology. You know, so if we deploy technology on a nationwide basis, you know, under a transformation planning, we should be able to actually, one, minimize leakages, stealing, and enhance efficiency and speed. In fact, staff in the offices would not need to stay beyond 3:30, 4 o'clock in the office of work, you know, doing overtime, because the system will help them do some of these things automatically.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, sir, for making time for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Simplify This is next, and from there we take a trip to the local markets. For more on rates from markets across the country, do well to log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. Don't forget, the entire interview is available on our channel at Saban Media Services on YouTube. Go there, do like, subscribe, and leave a comment because we value your feedback to serve you better. Until we come your way again, have a beautiful weekend and enjoy the month of May. Don't forget as well to play your part in nation building because it is a task for each and every Nigerian. God bless Nigeria.